Welcome back to Veteran Game, where nostalgia isn't a dirty word unless we're talking about the fashion in 1996. If you're new here, subscribe for honest reviews, deep dives, and gaming history lessons that are as sarcastic as a gecko in sunglasses. And if you ever rented a game just because the mascot looked cool, smash that like button right now. So today let's talk Gex Trilogy. Yes, that Gex, the wisecracking, TV-obsessed gecko with a never-ending supply of one-liners, brought back from the 90s by limited run games for modern platforms. All three games, a truckload of bonus content, and enough pop culture gags to fill a blockbuster video. The question is, in 2025, does this collection still entertain, or are we just falling for that remember when brain trick again? For anyone who missed the Gex train, let me set the scene. Gex wasn't just a mascot, he was a relentless barrage of TV and movie references, voiced by comedian Dana Gould. The first game, released back in 1995 for the 3DO and later PlayStation, was a 2D platformer about crawling walls, eating flies, and finding TV remotes to progress. The sequels went full 3D collectathon, throwing Gex into the media dimension to rescue the world from the evil Rez by collecting even more remotes, dressing up in ridiculous costumes, and making fun of everything from Looney Tunes to Kung Fu flicks to the internet itself. Firing up the Gex Trilogy in 2025 is like opening a time capsule labeled everything the 90s thought was cool. The jokes hit you at light speed. One minute he's doing a bad Austin Powers impression, the next he's cracking wise about Baywatch or making jokes about TV dinners. If you're over the age of 25, half the references will give you a weird nostalgic rush. If you're younger, get ready to Google what VH1 is. But honestly, that's part of the charm. Gex isn't trying to be timeless, he's a product of his era, for better and worse, and that's why people remember him. But here's the surprise, the collection actually plays pretty well. Limited runs Carbon Engine port adds widescreen support, rewind and save anywhere features, a gallery of art and commercials, and even behind-the-scenes interviews with Dana Gould. The controls feel tighter than ever, especially for the two 3D entries, and camera support on modern sticks is a game changer if you remember wrestling with it back in the PS1 days. There's even an option to quick load, so you never have to repeat those "I just fell into a pit for the third time" moments that haunted every 90s kid's dreams. Out of the trilogy, Enter the Gecko is still the standout. This is peak 90s 3D platformer, complete with themed worlds, cartoon land, haunted mansion, cyberspace, and that satisfying Mario 64 find the shiny thing to unlock the next area loop. It's compact, creative, and the right mix of challenge and chaos. Deep Cover Gecko is technically more advanced with smoother camera work, more open worlds, wacky power-ups, snowboarding, and even a Wayne Manor parody hub, but if you're here for pure platforming fun, Gex 2 just nails it. Now, let's get brutally honest about the downsides, because even the best nostalgia bombs have their duds. The original Gex is frankly pretty clunky by today's standards. The wall crawling was novel at the time, but the controls are stiff. The graphics are so pre-rendered, you'll feel like you're playing in a screensaver, and the level design loves to spring gotcha deaths on you for no reason. If you're not already a fan, it's a rough ride. And speaking of rough, the fetch quest mentality runs through all three games. If you hate backtracking, searching every corner for hidden remotes, and unlocking new levels by hunting obscure items, you might get frustrated fast. Gex 2 and 3 at least give you more variety and clever objectives, but they're still products of that collectathon craze that dominated late 90s platformers. Then there's the humor. Look, some of the quips still land. Some are genuinely funny, or at least make you smirk in that "wow, remember when people said that" way. But repetition is a real thing. There are only so many jokes, and you'll hear some of them dozens of times. The lack of regional voice tracks at launch is a real bummer for European fans. And let's not forget, as charming as Dana Gould can be, not every joke survives 25 years of pop culture drift. On the technical side, these ports are generally solid, but they're not perfect. Some minor bugs, a few reports of sound glitches, and the usual jank that comes from translating 90s code to modern hardware. Nothing game-breaking. But if you're expecting the polish of a Mario remake or a Night Dive remaster, you're not getting it. The save and rewind features do a ton of heavy lifting here. So who is Gex Trilogy really for in 2025? If you grew up on these games, it's a nostalgia overdose in the best way. The bonus content, the tweaks, and the sheer dedication to preserving that 90s energy make it a must-have for retro fans and collectors. If you're younger or you've never played a Gex game before, it's a quirky slice of gaming history. Uneven, sometimes frustrating, but loaded with weird creativity and pure, unfiltered personality. Here's the bottom line. Gex Trilogy isn't a timeless masterpiece. It never was. But it's a fun, fascinating throwback to an era when games were still figuring out how to do 3D, and mascots could be weird, loud, and genuinely surprising. Sometimes the only reason to revisit an old game is to remember how far we've come, and how much fun we had along the way. And honestly, there's something refreshing about a game that doesn't try to be more than it is. So if you're in the mood to crawl up walls, swing a tail at pop culture, and drown in a sea of TV remotes and one-liners, you could do a lot worse than the Gex Trilogy. Smash that like if you're a proud member of the Gecko generation, subscribe for more honest takes from Veteran Game, and drop a comment. Which 90s mascot deserves a comeback next? This is Veteran Game signing off, and remember, it's always tail time.